This is big breaking emergency news happening right now. We have Biden warning of a major response, a major retaliation in response to a mass casualty event on our U.S. military service members. All right, that is what's happening right now. We're having a presidential warning that things could escalate very quickly and very soon. Okay, we also have the continuation of the invasion of our U.S. southern border and actually our northern border as well. This is happening there with Canada. Same thing's happening there, and then people are invading through the northern border as well, actually. This invasion is continuing, and they are actually now arresting and detaining military-age men dressed in camouflage, having military packs and military backpacks. These units are moving into the U.S. and they're catching them now. All right, I reported on last week how people are catching video of these people coming in, these military units, and now we have Texas Border Patrol and Texas Guard now catching and arresting these this is what it looks like, potentially military units coming over our country, coming over the border. All right, so we're going to cover all this stuff, a ton of big breaking news. There's new updates on what's happening in our airports as well. All right, new rules for what's happening there. Our airports are deteriorating. They are now setting up walls all over the airport to section off housing areas inside of our international airports to house, quote, migrants. Okay, and they're getting their own walls to build their own housing area, but we cannot have our own protection and our own walls at our own border. All right, we're going to cover that as well. We are also going to cover new countries are now announcing conscription. Okay, this is now the third announcement for drafts in civilian and military conscription in the past week. The third major call for it. We now have another major country, a Western country, calling for conscription and a potential military draft. Okay, so we're going to cover all this stuff. We also have top U.S. senators calling for major strikes and attacks in the Middle East. All right, so we're going to cover all this news. And while all these world events are happening, our U.S. border is wide open. All right, I want you to look at these pictures of these military-age men. All right, this group of 8 men, I believe, that were detained by the Texas Border Patrol and the Texas troopers on a ranch trying to cross into the U.S. illegally. It says this morning, Texas Department of Public Safety responded to a camera activation on a ranch in Kinney County, Texas. Troopers tracked for 4 miles, locating a group of illegal immigrants. Troopers arrested and jailed 8 illegal immigrants from Mexico for criminal trespass, right? And you can see from this picture, it's just very suspicious and very strange that we have this group of military-age men all dressed in camouflage, and they all have these army packs to get into our country, okay? It seems like these units are already set up inside of our country, and they're just bringing in more people, right? They're bringing in more people, and people are going back and forth as well to bring goods and certain substances and even humans back and forth across the border. All right, so this is what's happening right now at our southern border, and they still refuse to shut it down. This is happening every day, all day, and all night, and they are only able to catch a few of them, all right? And they were able to process them for criminal trespassing, but even then, they probably will have to just hand them over to ICE, which will then just release them most likely, right? Won't even detain them. So this is what our system is set up. It's designed to fail. And we have Biden given this emergency warning as well that there's going to be a major response, right? So these groups that are inside the US, they could be activated in retaliation as well to something that the US does, right? Also, this is what's happening inside of our major airports, and then we will get into this warning from Biden in just a second, because this is imminent and urgent. But so is this, all right? This is inside of Chicago O'Hare International Airport. This is what's going on inside the airport right now. This was reported by Real America's Voice, and they were reporting that these walls and these curtains are going up all over the airport. It was just hundreds of feet of these curtains, all right? And entire sections were blocked off. And on the little note, it says, "Private, please step away from the curtains." Okay? This is what's being set up in airports all over the country. All over the country, this is happening. They're getting the curtains and getting entire spaces for these, quote, migrants to live in the airport. This is insane. This is absolutely insane that this is our country. This is a real video. This is a screenshot from a video inside the Chicago O'Hare Airport just a few days ago. Absolutely insane. And you can even kind of see there's people behind these curtains. All right, there's people on the ground behind these curtains. What is really going on? Okay, people are able to use this app and they can book a flight to fly into these certain airports on certain dates, and they will process them and allow them into the country. All right, and then a lot of them just end up like this, just sleeping at the airport. What kind of life is this to live anyways? This is just insane. None of this makes sense. None of this makes sense. And this is also a national security risk as well. National security risk to have these people, just like we were talking about, these military units potentially entering our country, and now we're just going to let them sleep at our airports. That can be taken over potentially if the call is given, or in retaliation to something happening overseas, to some war breaking out, right? And it seems like that's what we are dealing with. Multiple countries are warning of drafts, right? We're warning of a major response. All these things are happening at the same exact time, and these groups could potentially be activated. What if even just a small percentage is able to take over the planes? They're able to just take over the airport, shut down the airport, take over even just one plane. They're able to rush the plane or just sneak away. There's some pilots in there. Anything. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but it's a major security risk to have these people crossing the border all day and all night. We have no idea who they are, and then we're housing a lot of them right near our critical infrastructure as well. Just insane. Doesn't make sense, and it's getting worse every single day. It's getting worse. These curtains weren't up a few weeks ago, a month ago. The problem's getting so bad now they have to put up these curtains and all these different things to try to hide the issue. And even on the sign, they're saying, "Please stay away. Like, stay away from the curtain." It's insane. Instead of fixing the root cause of the problem, saying, "We're not going to allow this. We're not a sanctuary city in Chicago," they're just going to cover it up. That's what they do with all these issues. And it's not going to work anymore. It's not going to work any longer. All right. And one more thing, too, before we get to this presidential warning. Look at this that was also found at the border. Okay, so this guy's been doing some work at the border as well, Real America's Voice. And he posted this video as well where he was at the border and he collected all these different passports and IDs that were abandoned at the border before people went into the country. Right? Why would they do that? Why would someone abandon their passport before they get to the country? Why would they abandon their ID? Why would they keep it all the way until they get to the border and then dump their documents? It's almost like they needed them to get there and then they dump them. Or something potentially more nefarious, that these people got here and then they were picked off. Maybe they were grabbed by a group and they made them ditch their identification so nobody knows who they are. These things are happening as well. There are people that are getting picked off in the midst of this as well, and they are now living these lives, getting sucked up in these groups, all right, that are operating on our border. It's crazy. This is crazy, and this is one guy just finding all this stuff in a day, just walking along the border, all right? All these different passports, all these different IDs, and people are trying to come here and not be identified as well. That's the other side of it, is people don't want the government to know who they are. It was reported in December alone that there were 19 people on these international watch lists that came over the border. 19 people on the FBI international watch list just in December came over. And some of them could be abandoning their identification when they get there, right? Absolutely insane. This wouldn't be allowed anywhere else. This has never been allowed in the history of any country on earth. But for some reason, it's being allowed here. At the same time, potentially a massive war is about to pop off. And that is exactly what's happening right now. We had a major attack on U.S. troops. We are having 3 confirmed casualties of U.S. troops, okay? And Biden is now vowing to respond, okay? So 3 U.S. troops have sadly passed away, okay? Very sad. Say a prayer for these troops' families, okay? And 34 more are wounded by a drone attack, okay? And this just happened today in Jordan near the border of Syria. And here's the article. It says Biden is vowing to respond after a drone strike linked to Iran killed 3 U.S. service members. The attack wounded at least 34 others, and that number could rise according to U.S. officials. The unmanned aerial drone struck American troops stationed in northeast Jordan near the Syrian border early Sunday. Quote, "We had a tough day last night in the Middle East. We lost 3 brave souls," Biden said during a stop at Brooklyn Baptist Church in South Carolina. After leading a moment of silence, Biden said, quote, "and we shall respond." All right, so he's saying the U.S. is going to respond. He also issued an official statement on the White House website, okay, and put out an official letter saying that the U.S. is going to respond to these attacks on the U.S. service members, and they're linking this to Iran. Okay, we also have top U.S. senators saying that they want to have the U.S. attack Iran. We will get to that in just a second as well. It says the attack occurred at a support base known as Tower 22 and likely hit a barracks, a U.S. defense official told NPR. They also went on to say that the Islamic resistance in Iraq claimed to have attacked a total of 4 military bases on Sunday, 3 of which are U.S. bases in Syria and on the Syrian-Jordanian border, and 1 belonging to Israel. There's been no confirmation of other attacks from U.S. officials. So they're even saying that there's potentially other attacks as well that haven't been disclosed, but U.S. officials are saying that is not true. They're saying they attacked 4 different bases, but they are only confirming an attack on base Tower 22. All right, that's the only one they are confirming, with 3 casualties and 34 injuries. People are reporting that they have traumatic brain injuries and also spinal injuries and 1 case of a shrapnel wound. Okay, so this is a very serious event for U.S. military forces, and they're also saying that this is the first death of an American service member since October 7th. Okay, that's what they're also saying. So this is a big escalation in this region for the United States, and Biden is now vowing to respond to this. Okay, we also have top U.S. senators are now urging the president to attack Iran. Okay, multiple top U.S. senators are saying that the U.S. needs to attack Iran, And actually, Iran is very close to having nuclear weapons right now if they don't already have them, right? They probably already have them, but if they don't, they are extremely close to having the enriching capabilities to have nuclear grade weapons. But you can see here GOP hawks press Biden to target Iran directly over soldiers' deaths. You can see here that Senator Mitch McConnell called for a, quote, serious crippling cost to Iran, not only on frontline proxies, but on their Iranian sponsors who wear American blood as a badge of honor. He went on to say in a statement the attacks the U.S. has carried out on Iranian proxies outside of Iran, quote, will not deter Iranian aggression, calling to, quote, strike targets of significance inside of Iran. He said, also Senator Tom Cotton said, quote, the only answer to these attacks must be devastating military retaliation against Iran's forces, both in Iran and across the Middle East. Right? And also Senator John Corbyn said, quote, target Tehran. He said that on his X, his Twitter, social media. Right? So these top senators are really pushing for war with Iran, to have an attack on Iran right now. And this is very dangerous. This is a very dangerous situation for our country to be in. And let's hope that a big war does not break out. Right? That is not what we want for the U.S. And we have all these different countries warning of conscription as well, military conscription. And we have a new country now warning that their men and women are going to be called up to serve in the military, right? So things are really escalating. We want peace. We want peace through strength, right? This is happening partially because Iran has been given billions and billions of dollars to carry out these strikes, right? They have been emboldened and empowered over the past 4 years, and this is part of the reason why these things are happening right now as well. And we do not want a major war. I do not want to go to war. I do not want to be sent over there. I do not want to be signing up for this. I don't want my kids to be signed up for this. I want a peaceful, powerful America and future for my kids, right? And my family. That's what I want. I don't want to have a major war. And let's hope that this doesn't escalate. This doesn't turn into a big thing, especially with our open border where we potentially have hundreds of thousands of military units inside of our country waiting to be activated at a moment's notice, right? This was a major strategic opening that was done on purpose, and we are probably going to pay the consequences for it one day, having this open border with the international things escalating as well, right? Let's get into this news here. We also have military conscription being announced in Australia, right? They're now announcing that the civilian population could be called up to serve in the military in Australia right now. This comes as we also had the UK general warning of this as well. The head of the army in the UK was warning of a military conscription and a civilian army where parts of the civilian sector will be activated to make goods and services for the military. Okay, we also had a top NATO admiral warning of this last week as well, and he was warning people to stock up on food and water and radios and batteries in case of a blackout, in case of an EMP, in case of a major cyber attack, right? All in the past week, this is not a coincidence that this narrative all comes out in the past week. Something big is going to happen. We also had the largest NATO drill in history, 90,000 troops moving right now. Steadfast Defender 90,000 troops moving throughout Europe right now for the next 6 months for this major military drill. All right, something big is going on. We just had nukes move to the UK. All right, I reported on that yesterday. These big things are happening, and now Biden is warning that we could see a major response and potentially a response even on Iran. And this is the statement that was issued by Trump as well. All right, we had Biden issuing a statement, commenting on it. I wanted to get to the statement that Trump issued as well about this attack on our U.S. military men. He said, quote, "The drone attack on our U.S. military installation in Jordan, killing 3 American service members and wounding many more, marks a horrible day for America. My most profound sympathies go to the families of the brave service members we have lost. I ask all Americans to join me in praying for those who have been wounded. This brazen attack on the United States is yet another horrific and tragic consequence of Biden's weakness and surrender." He went on to say, quote, "3 years ago, Iran was weak, broke, and totally under control. Thanks to my maximum pressure policy, the Iranian regime could barely scrape $2 together to fund their proxies. Then Biden came in and gave Iran billions of dollars, which the regime used to spread bloodshed and carnage throughout the Middle East. This attack would never have happened if I was president, not even a chance. Just like the Iranian-backed Hamas attack on Israel would have never happened. The war in Ukraine would have never happened, and we would have right now have peace throughout the world. Instead, we are on the brink of World War III. This terrible day is yet more proof that we need an immediate return to peace through strength, so that there will be no more chaos, no more destruction, and no more loss of precious American lives." All right, he said our country cannot survive with Biden as our commander-in-chief. All right, that was the statement also issued from former President Trump. Okay, so, and it's a lot of what he said is completely true. Iran has been emboldened, and they have freed up these funds and given them billions of dollars to fund these proxies and these groups that are now attacking our U.S. military, right? Absolutely insane that this is being facilitated and this is happening. And another thing is that I really think we should bring our troops home. I think we should bring most of our troops home, and they should be at the border. They should be defending our border and our country and our sovereignty right now, right? And I know there are strategic locations, things like that. I'm not saying every single place, but I think a lot of our troops should be home right now, and they should be defending our border and our country right now as well, right? That's what I think should be happening, and that's the narrative that needs to be put out as well. Why isn't our U.S. military on the southern border defending our country against these military units dressed in camo and these military bags running into our country? They need to be on our border protecting our country right now. And this is being funded and facilitated by the UN, right? I've been documenting how the UN has these camps in the Darien Gap where they let people stay there for a little bit. They get to the Darien Gap. This connects Central and South America, okay? And they let them get there, they let them rest, and then they give them resources and money and a phone and a debit card to get to the U.S., and they help them get to whatever port, whatever city they want to go to in the U.S. They give them the route and help them get there. And just yesterday, CBP says that there were 6,600 migrant encounters just yesterday, quote, migrant encounters just yesterday at the border. All right, 6,600 just yesterday. This is happening constantly, 24/7, all day long, and you can bet that there are foreign country military units inside of our country right now, and some of them even getting free food and free housing and free benefits on the American taxpayer dime. All right. And with the 6,600, that would barely trigger this deal that they're working on in the Senate for 5,000 people a day. All right. They're still going to allow 5,000 a day, legalize 5,000 a day essentially, and let them in before they shut it down. So 6,600 would trigger it. All right. There would have only been 5,000, but the number should have been zero. The number should have been zero. 5,000 is still unacceptable. Right. And actually, Arizona and California are getting hit very hard right now as well, because a lot of these groups and networks that move people around, they know that Texas is kind of a hot spot right now, right? And they can't secure every little location. It's massive. It's massive. They can't have people there. That's why the National Guard and the Texas Guard, they can't defend the entire border. That's why the U.S. military needs to be down there, and it needs to come down from the top that things are shut down, all right? And they're diverting their routes right now, though, to go to Arizona and California, because they know that Texas is a hot spot and it's getting a lot of attention right now. And also, we have 700,000 truckers going down to the border right now as well, and are going to block traffic and slow down traffic and slow down the border as well, right? Peacefully. That's a peaceful protest that's going on. That's starting tomorrow morning. They are making their way to Texas and California and Arizona, right? So please hit it up for me down there to help get this video out, to help get this warning out. People need to know what's going on in our country. Please hit that subscribe button and hit that bell if you want to get notified right to your phone. It will send a little notification to your phone, and if you click all next to the bell, and it will be sent right to your phone, and you can click right on it. And I'm posting every single day. All right. I also posted a video yesterday breaking down what's going on with these 700,000 truckers. If you want to go check out that video, I'll link that down below for you guys, because there's a lot of big news going on in our country. Our country is changing, and it's happening. All right. The battle's happening right now, and we need to say no. We need to stand firm. We need to be peaceful, but we need to be firm and say that we do not want this happening in our country. All right. We want peace. We don't want our country being invaded. And we also do not want a giant world war to break out. We want peace throughout the world, and peace and security and prosperity in our country. Right. So thank you guys so much. And I hope you have a big old blessed day.